Hi, welcome to Nari's YouTube channel. Today's topic of discussion is a two-part series, and we're discussing part 2, which is prescription medications and how to keep yourself safe if you have celiac disease. Part 1 was on over-the-counter medications, so thank you for coming back for the second part of this series. These are just my tips and tricks on what we do as a family to make sure any medication or prescription we pick up from a pharmacy or prescribed by our doctor are safe for our family. So the first step, typically you get a prescription from your physician, and you may or may not be able to read what's on that prescription, but it's important to know what the medication is that you'll be taking, the dosing, and how it's to be taken. Now, you can find that information out at the pharmacy if you don't or are unable to read what is on the prescription pad. Sometimes it's a bunch of scribbles, but take that prescription to the pharmacist. Step 1 is always advocate for yourself. Always. And there's nothing wrong with keeping yourself safe. So I like to talk with my pharmacist and let them know that I have celiac disease and I need to make sure that all my medications are gluten-free. Now, some pharmacists are unable to call the manufacturer. Maybe they're in a very busy, you're in a big city and there's just lots of patients and it's difficult for them to always call the manufacturers to make sure each and every medication is gluten-free. In which case, that's okay. You get to be the advocate for yourself and you get to do the research, and that's okay. So let's say your pharmacist can't call the manufacturer. They are unable to verify that information. So before I pick up the prescription, I'll walk into the pharmacy and I'll say, were you able to verify if this medication was gluten-free? If they say, I looked at the PI, which is the package insert, it's the really long information packet that comes with every medication, and they say, I don't see any gluten-containing ingredients. My personal opinion is that is not a good enough answer for me. And that's okay. That's a fine enough answer from the pharmacist, but that does not make me feel very comfortable. Knowing, what if there's ingredients that are named as one thing and it's really wheat and we don't know, like cellulose. What derivative of plant did it come from? So typically I will just say, thank you so much for that information. Could I call the manufacturer just to verify? Can I get some information? And pharmacists are really great and they're super helpful and they can be a great partner in finding out this information that you need to make sure your medications are safe. So the things you want to ask your pharmacist to make sure you have the right information is, number 1, ask them if they could write down or if you can know the name of the medication your doctor is prescribing, what dosing, what manufacturer they are going to fill that medication with. Because if it's the brand, there's usually only one company that makes that medicine. But if they're going to fill it with a generic, there are typically several generic companies that could make that same medication. So knowing which one your pharmacy is going to fill it with is very important. So asking which manufacturer, and you can ask for the NDC code, which is the National Drug Code, and that's what they use for billing, or the lot or batch number. So those pieces of information are very, very, very helpful for the next step that you're going to take. And pharmacists are great. They will give you all of that information. And I typically just write it down and I say, thank you so much. I'm going to go call the manufacturer, and then I will either call the pharmacist back or I will come back in and let them know. And my pharmacists are amazing to work with. So now I have this information. What do? I go home, and research becomes our best friend as celiacs, right? So the first thing you can do is Google, is whatever the company name is. So let's say you're getting a generic and you want to look up Watson. Is Watson Pharmaceuticals the name of the medication gluten-free? Some companies do not put any gluten in any of their products. And it might be something that pops up in your first Google search and it says all products from this company are gluten-free or do not contain any gluten ingredients. Oh, right? Because now you have your answer and you can go back and say, thank you. I can go ahead and fill this prescription. That manufacturer works. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, right? But let's say it doesn't pop up on Google search. So what do you do then? Here's what I like to do. I will research and look up that manufacturer plus contact information. So what is Watson Pharmaceuticals' contact information? And you want to have the 1-800 number or the number for the company that is for consumers. So you do not want like their public relations number or their hiring number or, numbers that physicians need to call in on. What you're looking for is a consumer number that you can call. You will call that number. I typically pick up the phone, dial it in, call, and there is a prompt for allergies or looking at medication allergies, adverse events, side effects, that kind of thing. There is a prompt for that in almost every pharmaceutical company's number directory. So that I will press that button, and you're usually directed to somebody who is a medical professional, whether that's a nurse or medical personnel. And I like to start the conversation just, letting them know I have celiac disease. My doctor prescribed a medication. My pharmacist wants to fill it, and you're the manufacturer. Can you please tell me if it's gluten-free? I can't have any gluten. I have a severe gluten allergy because I get so sick with gluten, and I need to know, is this medication gluten-free? That person is going to ask you, great, do you have any information you can share with me? And here's where that information you got from your pharmacist will be so helpful, because if you have the name of your drug, the dosing, if you have the NDC lot number or batch number, they can immediately look it up and say to you, it might take a few minutes, maybe not immediate, but it might take a few minutes, and they can say to you one of three things. One, yes, this product is gluten-free. We test and it is gluten-free. Amazing. That is my favorite thing I love to hear. Two, we have no gluten-containing ingredients in that product. Whew, yes, thank you. The third answer that I've gotten sometimes is we don't test for gluten in our products. We get things from different manufacturers to make our medications, so we have no way of knowing. I thank them for their time, hang up the phone, call back my pharmacist or go back into my pharmacist and say, is there another manufacturer we can get the medication from? Because that one is not gluten-free. And typically there are more than one manufacturer that the pharmacist can get medication from. They may just have to order it, and it might take a day or two. So be patient. But being safe is my biggest priority. So I'm willing to wait a day if that means the medication I get is going to be safe for me or for my family. So that's what I do to make sure my prescription medications are safe. One, you can do some research. Well, always do research. It's kind of a gluten-free celiac disease best friend, research. Get to know your pharmacist and let them know you have celiac disease and you cannot have any medication that has gluten in it. It's important to advocate for yourself and for your family members. Do the research before you make your call. So make sure you know the name of the medication, the dosing, the NDC or the National Drug Code, the lot or batch number, so you can share that with the medical personnel at the manufacturers or the pharmaceutical company's information line so that they know exactly what medication it is you're getting at what dose and what lot number, so they can share if that medication has been manufactured gluten-free. And lastly, this is kind of my little tip and trick. So if there's a medication you know you're going to be on long term, right? It's not just a one-time deal, a 10-day dose. Let's say it's something you're on monthly and you're going to be on it for a very, very long time. I will let my physician know that this particular brand of medication is safe for me and for my family. And so now my son is on a long-term medication. And what I tend to do is have them write the prescription and then say, please use Teva brand or Teva brand only or Watson brand only or Novartis brand only. And it's great because that saves my pharmacist an extra step. And please be diligent. Call the manufacturer at least once a year and make sure nothing has changed in the fact that that particular med and that particular batch number is still gluten-free. I hope this information is helpful to you. If you need a prescription medication, if you have questions, please let me know. Again, these are just ways that I tend to work around and navigate making sure that our prescription medications are gluten-free. I'm sure there are lots of other ways to do that, but maybe you didn't think about medications at all. And that's something that I want to bring and raise awareness to those who have celiac disease and those who need to be gluten-free. Thank you so much for this two-part series. Please come back again for another video on another topic on celiac disease and staying gluten-free. Thanks so much, and I look forward to seeing you again.